Please subscribe the channel and don't forget to click the bell icon.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Botanica. So in the previous class we have discussed about we have introduced you with the concept of somatic embryogenesis. What is the somatic embryogenesis, how it occurs, and in today's video we are going to tell some more facts and methods of somatic embryogenesis. So first of all, here we have the overview of somatic embryogenesis. So the first experiment what we have discussed when we were discussing we were introducing you with the plant tissue culture, we have discussed this experiment which was carried out by Stewart et al. In 1962, 63, 64. This is the period in which they carried out these experiments. As these experiments were carried out again and again, so they are and they have published many papers on it. So that's why the date is sometime referred to as the paper from which these diagrams and pictures are taken. So that's why in the previous we have discussed that Stewart carried out his experiment in 1962, but here we are mentioning in 1964. So these are the same thing. There is a difference between the publications. So as the time goes on, they have made some modifications in their experiments and then they republished their work. So that's why there is a modification in the work, and after 1 or 2 years. So this is the overview, and we are starting, and they have started with the storage root, the tap root of carrot, Daucus caerata. This is the transverse section of the root, and from this section they have isolated, or they have 2 milligram of explant. So that 2 milligram of explant was from the vascular tissues, phloem tissues, and where the food, from which the food is transported. They have isolated 2 milligram explant phloem tissue, and what they have did, they have cultured those phloem explant, 2 milligram of phloem explant here in the culture vessels, and these cultured vessels contains the culture medium which is required for the culturing of somatic embryogenesis, which they have made at that time along with the coconut milk. So culture media along with the coconut, though as the coconut milk is concerned, it is assumed and it is believed that it contains various growth regulators which was needed for that particular experiment. So they have provided coconut milk along with the culture media which contains the growth regulators, and they have used it as a source of growth regulator. So coconut milk in the various plant physiology experiment and tissue culture experiment is also used as a source of growth regulator. So this is the portion of the culture vessels, and what happens here, the division and subsequent division occurs here, and this subsequent division finally result in the embryoid, which is not the complete embryo, because when we are discussing in the tissue culture, we are not mentioning it an embryo because it is not the zygotic embryo. Either we have to differentiate as a tissue culture embryo or somatic embryo, or we can say that embryoid, which is made from these cells, and then after some time it will develop, or it will make its journey towards the plantlets, which is cultured here in the culture vessel, or we can say that is the test tube, and after some time when its growth goes on, it will develop into a complete new plant. So this is the simply somatic embryogenesis experiment and overview. Here we have discussed the processes, as there are some complications from the start to the end. For example, which type of explant should be used, and how the growth regulators are added, what are the different types of culture media, what are the different types of incubating conditions, what are the different types of exceptions which occur in the species. So these all are there, and we are going to discuss those exceptions and those processes, these protocols. But here we have given a brief overview of somatic embryogenesis. So as far as these lines are concerned, these are coming again from the plant which is formed by the process of tissue culture or somatic embryogenesis. Now we can use this particular plant as a explant, or we can isolate tissues from this plant and then again culture them. Either we are going to isolate these somatic cells from the root, or we are isolating flower, seed, and which we have discussed as the haploid culture, ovary culture, embryo culture, ovule culture. So these are the two pathways. Either we are isolating somatic cells and we are making them as again a new plant, or we are going through this way and we are isolating the flowers or the haploid structures from it, and we are culturing them, and subsequently they will again form this particular new plant. So as far as the somatic embryogenesis is concerned, there are two basic types, and the criteria of classification here is either the cells which we have cultured, they are directly converting into embryo, or there is some intervening state between those two, between the somatic cell and the embryo. So as the name indicates, the first type is the direct somatic embryogenesis, as SE is the somatic embryogenesis. So as the name indicates, direct means when embryos are formed directly from the explant tissue, creating an identical clone without production of intervening callus. So what happens in the direct somatic embryogenesis, here there is a no intervening or no intermediate condition which we call the callus. So there is a no callus formation when we in direct somatic embryogenesis, when we culture the tissues, somatic cells from the plant, they are directly converted into embryo, and there is a no intermediate stage. So those stages which are found in the embryo, like the torpedo stage and hard stage, and those are the stages of the embryo. But we are talking here about the mass of cells, undifferentiated mass of cells, which is called the callus. So there is no callus formation, that's why it is called direct somatic embryogenesis. Direct somatic embryogenesis, where embryos form directly from the explant without an intervening callus phase. So this is the second definition of direct somatic embryogenesis. So these are the both same things. While now it is clear from the definition of direct somatic embryogenesis that what will be the indirect somatic embryogenesis. So when explant produced undifferentiated mass of cell, which we call the callus, when it is produced, and the callus is the intermediate stage between the somatic cell and the somatic embryos, or we can say that the embryos. So when they produce undifferentiated mass of cell, or when they are producing callus, when they are producing intermediate stage, they are not directly converting into the embryo, so which is maintained or differentiated into the embryo. So what will happen here, there will be an intermediate stage. First there will be a somatic cell which we have isolated, then when we culture them in a culture medium, they will form a callus, which will be the undifferentiated mass of cell, and then we have to give a particular treatment to that callus, so that it should be converted into embryo and it should not be converted into some vegetative part. So that's why this is called the indirect somatic embryogenesis. So specific growth regulators and culture conditions are required. So as we have to direct that callus to form embryo and do not form any other cell or vegetative part, so that's why we have to give specific treatment of growth regulators, and we have also give a specific culture condition which are the requirement for the embryo formation. So that should be given to that callus, so that it should redetermine its growth toward the embryogenic development and not towards the vegetative development. So this pattern is called induced embryogenic determined cells. So these are the pattern is the induced embryo. What is the induced? So induced means we have induced those cells, we have directed those cells to form embryo. So these are not actually these are not the embryonic cell, but we have induced these cells to make an embryo. So that's why they are called induced embryogenic determined cells, and they are not natural embryogenic determined cells, but they are induced by us by giving certain treatments. So but the common thing between these both types, somatic indirect and direct somatic embryogenesis, is in both types of somatic embryogenesis, the embryos resemble the zygotic embryos. So as far as the embryos are concerned, there is no difference. They are following the same pattern of development, but in the natural condition the zygotic embryos follows. For example, when we discuss about the dicotyledonous plant, so there are some characteristic stages of embryo development. What are the globular stage, the herd stage, torpedo model, what is found in the dicotyledonous and cotyledonary stage. So these are from the globular to cotyledonary stage, and these intermediate stage, these all stages are found in the somatic embryogenesis as well, somatic embryos as well. But the difference between these two types is upon the development, either direct development, either that is indirect development, as do the zygotic. So as far as the further development, when the embryo is formed, either it is directly formed or it is indirectly formed, so it will be converted to it will follow a pattern of development same as the zygotic embryo follows, but the pattern differs before the formation of the embryo. So the embryo may then germinate and produce fertile plants. So as far as that embryo is concerned, and embryo as there is a low rate of success in the somatic embryogenesis, as like in other experiment of tissue culture, what happens that we have a success rate which is different, which depend upon the different factors that start from the source of explant, and there are many factors which determine the success rate. So that's why either that embryo which is formed, it will convert into a new plantlet, or it may occur that it may die. So when the embryo germinate and it make a plantlet, it will produce the fertile plants, and that fertile plants then can also be used as a source of plant tissue culture. So one major difference between somatic and zygotic embryogenesis is that when there is a embryo formed in the natural conditions, so plant have to go through a dormant stage, a desiccation stage. Dormancy occur in the seeds and the embryos of the plants, because those seeds have to overcome the critical period or the harsh period of harsh environmental period. But when we are discussing in the tissue culture, so in tissue culture there is no such stage of dormancy or desiccation, because whenever the embryo is formed, it will directly be determined to make an embryo, and embryo will directly convert. If success is higher, embryo directly will form or will be converted into a new plantlet, seedling, and seedling will convert into plantlet. But in the zygotic embryo there is a difference, that in the majority of the species what happens that seeds are formed. For example, if there is the species growing in the summer season, so at the end of the summer the seeds have been formed, and now that particular plant will go through a desiccation or dormancy, and it will go through the winter period, the harsh condition, the harsh environment which is not favorable for the growth, and in the next spring when the conditions are favorable, that seed will grow and dormancy will be broken down. But here there is a case is in somatic embryogenesis, it is not the case. Here whenever these are the subsequent generations, subsequent steps which are followed, and there is a no break or pause between these steps. So but rather there is a continuous development into the germination phase as soon as they are fully formed. So whenever the embryo is formed, it will directly be germinated, and it will go through the germination phase as it is fully formed. So in indirect somatic embryogenesis, where the explant tissue initially undergoes rapid cell division to form relatively disorganized mass of cells called the callus. So these are the alternative definitions of it. Somatic embryogenesis then arises from the callus, and these are the as we have discussed differences between the somatic embryogenesis and the zygotic embryos. So there is also a comparison chart. So first of all, somatic embryos are formed from sporophytic cells, and zygotic embryos are formed by fusion of gametic cells. As you know, whenever there is a natural process of reproduction, natural process of fertilization, there are microspores and megaspores and microsporogenesis, megasporogenesis, microgametogenesis and megagametogenesis. And what occurs, the pollen tube have a 3 nucleus which comes lower into the lower parts of the plants, into the ovary, and they enter into the embryo sac and they fertilize in the dicot. In the dicot case, they fertilize egg cell as well as they fertilize the other 2 cells which will form a endosperm. So there is a fusion of the gametic cells. While when we are talking about the somatic embryos, these somatic embryos will always be from the sporophytic cells, because we are isolating our explant. Source of explant is the sporophytic generation. So that's why these are always source of sporophytic cells. So when somatic embryos store a less amount of embryo specific reserves, but seed storage proteins, carbohydrates are the characteristic features. So in the natural condition, the seed has to undergo a period of dormancy, and after the dormancy, when the seed will germinate, so it requires a lot of energy, lot of food material which should be present in the food, because the germination phase is the most critical stage of the development of the seed. So it requires the proteins, the carbohydrates and other lipids and oily material which is required for the growth. But in the somatic embryos, they are given every type of material, every type of nutrient, growth regulators and everything which is required. So it is given in vitro, so that's why they are not storing those compounds. So that's why this is the other second difference. Distinctive suspensor is absent in somatic embryos. Even it is present, it may not be functional as in seed embryos. So in the when the seed germinates, it has a distinctive suspensor which is not present in the somatic embryos, and it is well developed and distinct in the zygotic embryos. And next is, somatic embryos have no vascular supply and vascular connection with the cultured explant. Cultured, so remember we are talking about the cultured explant, because we have isolated cells from other, for example taproot or leaf. Now the leaf is separate from those cells which we are culturing here. So this embryo have no vascular connection with the source of explant. But what happens in the embryos which are present in the natural condition or the zygotic embryos, they have a vascular connection with the plants, and they are nourished by the plants as well. Somatic embryos generally lack a dormant phase, and what we have discussed, they do not show the secondary embryogenesis. So here we have the concept of secondary embryogenesis and pluricotyledony. So what is the secondary embryogenesis and pluricotyledony? What happens in the somatic embryogenesis? Sometimes the embryo itself will not form a fully functional plant, rather it will die, and it will differentiate its cells into different parts, and those cells will again germinate to form a new embryo. So what happens here, the primary embryo which is formed, it will die, it will not be functional. But what it does, it separates, it distributes itself, which are determined cells which will be formed into an embryo, into different pockets, into different size pockets. So what will happen, for example, if this particular embryo, primary embryo, has distributed to 4 parts of the plant, so what will happen, one embryo will form a 4 embryos, so that is called secondary embryogenesis, because these embryos are not directly formed by us, that is not determined by us, but they are determined by the primary embryo, so they are called as secondary embryogenesis. But what happens here in the zygotic embryo, the primary embryo which is formed, that is the functional stage, it will form a new seedling, and there is no secondary embryogenesis. Somatic embryogenesis show high rate of propagation, low rate of propagation. So remember the last step, we are talking about when the seeds are produced in the plant. So all the seeds which are produced, so they are not functional. When they are out of, for example, 100 seeds if we are producing the natural conditions in the plant, so there is a chance of 20 to 30 or 25 depending upon the species of success of propagation. While in the somatic embryogenesis, as we are, the conditions are controlled in vitro, we are controlling the conditions, so we are giving all the conditions to all the cultured embryos, so that's why there is a high rate of propagation, and there is a low rate of propagation because the seeds which are produced by, for example, if you have seen below the plant of acacia, what is called kikar in Urdu and Saraiki and Pashto, so there is a lot of abundant of dense type of seeds are produced by that plant, but you have seen a very low number of plants which are emerging from those seeds. So that is the propagation, that is the rate of propagation, because there is a low number of seeds, a low number of plantlets is because of the low level of nutrients which are available, low level of food that is available to those seeds. But here there is no such issue of food and growth regulator, so that's why there is a high rate of propagation.